Hello, hello. All right, so today we're going to have a black screen, and the reason about it is because Abba is asking us to protect ourselves. As everybody knows, the eyes are the window to the soul. And in these times, it's not that you're gonna like close yourself off of being around people, but he's asking me to protect myself. And when he speaks, we listen. And he's bringing us today to something very important, which is the book of Romans. As Abba mentions, the book of Romans from chapter 1 to chapter 11. It speaks mostly about how Paul sent a letter to the Romans trying to establish the difference between being saved, right, and living in sin. And the majority of it is based on solely being awarded that by and through the grace and faith in Jesus. So the grace of Jesus and through the faith in him. As I say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Therefore, I do see things differently that the majority of the people that has been indoctrinated, even though when I was one indoctrinated person, because Abba has opened my eyes into how indoctrination has changed the true message of Jesus. And this Christic era is an era that needs all of us to understand unconditional love so the world can actually vibrate in a higher frequency. So the cycle that we're going to go in through, which is the new Christic era, helps. So something that I heard about the 144s is that it only takes that amount of people in the whole entire world to help the world shift. Therefore, that is why they call him the chosen. And that is why they are actually moved into an awakening of their souls, of remembrance of who they are, so they can vibrate in this frequency and help the world transition an era. I want to search something that I was bringing to my mind. Give me 1 second because I need to do a little research here. And how often they happen. All right, so how long has it been since? All right. Let's see what's going on here. Abba's asking me to search some things. So if you're here, it's going to take a little bit because we need to understand that, what he's talking about. So which... Let's see. There's something here that Abba's asking me to do. So give me 1 moment. Got it. Got it. All right. So I knew Abba had something in mind when he asked me to search these things. The human historical context roughly cycles every 2,000 years. Jesus, literally per the Bible, approximately 2,000 years ago was here. Let's see. The cyclical year, that's my dinner, varies the climate and the astrological plane, rather than the major orbit of the Milankovitch cycle. Yet, energetically, we're going through that shift. And I've been talking about it for years now, but Abba brought me into this because he wanted us to look into understanding that these are times to stray away from not making mistakes, but living in spirit and not in the flesh. And the reason why he's asking for this is because as you cleanse your body, you will actually receive that sovereignty that you need to have in these times. And the reason why, there's gonna be a lot of events that are gonna actually push humanity into huge duality, a lot of conflict, a lot of things that are going on. And then the promise is going to be for a better future by doing X and Y, right? And if you're not sovereign and you're not awakened, then you're going to go with the flow of that lie, and you're not going to be able to feel the shift that's happening, which is the resonance of that Christic era that started, and it's gonna actually magnetize in the next 3 days. Therefore, for the next 3 days, I am gonna be doing dark videos. I'm not gonna be showing my face. If you guys want to listen to what I have to say based on what Abba is teaching me, then you're more than welcome to stay. All of these things are very triggering because we are lived indoctrinated for too long, and the truth just needs to be told with basis on Abba telling us exactly what to look for. So he's pointing on Romans 12 for today. And if you look at the Google overview of what Romans 12 mean in the KJV version, which is the version that he's asking us to use, it does mark a pivotal transition in the book of Romans, shifting from theology to practical Christian living, outlining how believers should act in response to the mercy of Abba, emphasizing a life of transformed worship, humility, community, and non-relation. We're all promised salvation because Messiah that already transitioned, it's gonna come back. But what we need to understand is that comeback is this Christic era, is this energy that if you're not living in the spirit, or at least acknowledge and awaken on the spirit, then you're going to go through another 2,000 years of the same cycle. He wants me to point out the difference between charisma versus true authenticity and how it relates to the Bible. And when I actually ask Google, what would that look like? It says, in a biblical context, the contrast between charisma and the true authenticity is often framed as a conflict between outward talent, personality, and inward character and integrity. The reason why I went through a spiritual awakening before this time, so I can see what in me was not in alignment with what Abba was asking for. And when he asked me to actually expose it out there, I knew I was gonna look like a crazy loony, based on the fact that I knew there were a lot of things that I didn't know that he was going to teach me, a lot of ways that I expressed myself that I had to change, a lot of things that I have to grow up in order to see the spirit and the aspect of what is true unconditional love. So I was never, I would say, I was never ashamed of the whole journey, because I knew that if it wasn't exposed, so the final product can be shown by Abba as a person that lived a life that was unholy, person that lived a life that was misconstrued or confused by indoctrination, with the wisdom of the Spirit, can actually use it to help people mature spiritually and personally as well. Why? Because we may live with inner child wounds that makes us still live a very immature life in the physical aspect of it, based on the way that we react, based on the way that we act. But as soon as you actually understand how the faith and integrity and the alignment with the words of Abba through Jesus works, then people can stop judging and start opening their hearts. And I am a person that obviously I went through hell and back in life, right? Yet I never lost hope and faith in knowing that one day I was going to find the truth, so I can change my circumstances and live a life that is more, not authentic, because I'm very raw and authentic, but more in tone or in tune or aligned with what true spirituality means. So when he brings us to Romans 12 and we look at Romans 12, you can see how he's asking us to be the living sacrifice. And the living sacrifice is not what people has indoctrinated you to be. It's not that you have to sacrifice yourself for another. It's that you have to sacrifice living in the aspects of the flesh, so you can actually be in alignment with the Spirit and do a covenant with Abba, which falls far away from the old covenant that the old misaligned teachings were actually structuring in through humanity. So let's dig deep in to the scriptures and let's see how Abba develops this, okay? So Romans 12 KJV version says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Obviously, we're talking about not only nutrition portions of it, Not because you are chubby, fat, or however you consider yourself. It's because your vessel is what takes you places. And if your vessel is not working properly, it's like having a car that doesn't work properly and loses its oil and it stays half away through the path. So it's not because of appearances, it's mostly because of the energy that being nutrition based oriented and more healthy and more natural can bring to the experience. So other diseases can be cured by not consuming things that are not well for your vessel. And then we go to verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So the sacrifice that he asked us to is not that we take Jesus' sacrifice into heart by saying, because he forgives all my sins, that I can do whatever I want and I'm always going to be forgiven, because that automatically is what brings the wrath of Abba. And the wrath of Abba is no other than he presenting you pebbles in the way so you can actually hit your foot with it and wake up. So, not that he's being mean, but the only way we can learn is by experiencing, going through the same things over and over again until we say, okay, wait, the problem is not outside of me, it's inside of me. And that's very important. So, the renewing of the mind is also understanding that for you to be compassionate and for you to have loving boundaries, it doesn't mean that you have to walk away from people. This means that you have to make your statements clear, true statements, statements that live in integrity and morality. You cannot prophesy something if you're acting totally opposite of what you're prophesying. That's why when it came to the point that I felt that I was acting like my bullies, I said, wait, why am I doing this? This is not my heart. This is not who I am. So let me just go into silence, go into hermit mode, still post what I have to post because it's a battle within the mind and the heart, right? And you guys had to experience how I went through that so you can understand exactly where he's coming from. So it says, for I say, throughout the grace giving unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. So, if you have a faith like a grain of mustard, you cannot doubt your own faith, because if you do that, then you're in disalignment. You're completely out of alignment, and you're not believing with your heart. You're believing with your eyes, and that is the Thomas way, right? See it to believe it, and we're here to believe without seeing it. So it doesn't matter what is happening in the external part of it. You have to trust that Abba has a bigger plan and that you are here to learn something so you can move to the next cycle and then join forces with your spiritual soul family so you can actually start working on your purpose in life, whatever it will be, that is dedicated mostly into servicing humanity. And this is not a sacrifice. This is you doing what you love the most and people actually being inspired to do better. So in this case, you're not forcing anyone, but you're acting. Well, you're not acting. You're actually taking actions into living a true righteous life, not because you want to think you're better than anyone else, because you have an understanding that that is the sacrifice that Abba is requesting from you for all the abundance that he has in store to come into your life. and then multiply and multiply by even more than 10. Okay, so for as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office. I want you to understand that the members in the body is every single part of your human body, as well as the church. Together, we become the church. But the members are every single nerve, every single cell, every single thing that lives in your body. So we, being many, are one body in Christ. You see? So when we come together, we're one body in Christ. And everyone members one of another. Therefore, the interrelation, like the communication, the community, the way we act towards one another, the way we relate with one another, that is actually what allows us to have that sense of community, and that sense of belonging, and that sense of integration, and that sense of unity. But you have to start with your own body, because your own body has a mind that will think from a hurt space if the mind is the one controlling the ego. Therefore, when you open your heart, the ego stops controlling the interaction, and then the heart takes over, and then you can love unconditionally. Now, yeah, today I didn't drink my calming tea in the morning or my mushroom coffee, so I'm a little bit jitterish. So if you hear a different tone in my voice, is because of my PTSD and me not drinking my mushroom coffee this morning because I skipped it. So this is mostly how I sound when I don't have calming tea, or I don't use mushroom coffee to actually be more focused. But regardless of, the message is clear, and my tone might not be the best tone, but hopefully you can hear the message. And then it says, having the gifts differing accordingly to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. Our ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorteth on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth, with diligence. He that sheweth. Oh, he that sheweth mercy with cheerfulness. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectionate one to another, with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Then it says, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you. Bless them not, curse, and curse not. So when we become defensive, we're not fighting with a person. We're fighting with an entity. We're fighting with a dark entity. We're fighting with a low vibrational frequency. Therefore, Abba is asking you, do not fight with a low vibrational being, because you're not fighting with a human or a heart. You're fighting with the darkness that person is confronting, because they're going through a spiritual awakening, or they are actually in a low vibrational frequency where other entities can take over. So we need to be very, very vigilant of not falling for the lie of provocation. So says, bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one towards another. So that means that if you don't like somebody, you need to see what in you it's rejecting that person, and you need to see if you need to leave that place and be true to your spirit and not mingle with these people that may be in lower vibrations. But you also need to be a kind spirit, which means you're not going to treat them like they're nobody. You are going to love them regardless, but you're not going to fight with their demons. What you're going to do is you're going to pray. Prayers that not condition people. So when you pray, make sure you don't say things like, I want that person to do blah, blah, blah. No, you're going to say that you're going to ask Abba to intercede and allow that person, when they are ready, to experience his love so they can see the love that you have in your heart. And that is something that we never know because we're indoctrinated to push people that is not living our life away. And then we're indoctrinated into judging them because they're being sinners, and we're indoctrinated into like making them feel like they don't fit in, when we're supposed to be an inviting ministry where we actually, with unconditional love, show them that there is a different way of living. So when you confront a person that is in lower vibration and it has a spirit within them, instead of fighting the spirit, you smile, you say something loving, and you allow them to do whatever they want to do. If they want to burst, if they want to boast, if they want to just act immaturely, if they want to react, if they want to leave, then you allow them to do that because they have their own battle that they're fighting. And their battle is one-on-one with them, their mind, their soul, their heart, and Abba. So what we do is we ask Abba to allow the person, whenever they're ready, to receive his love. And then Abba, if he noticed that there's too many dark entities around that person, will probably intercede, because Abba will not allow anyone to be taken unless the person is set on their ways and he will not cross their free will. But if they see that it's a person that is a victim of a circumstance, then Abba is going to intercede for them. So, let's see. Where am I? I lost my space here. Be of the same. Okay, recompense to no man evil for evil. You see, it's not an eye for an eye. This is the new era. It's not an eye for an eye. Okay, that's in the past. After Jesus, it's not an eye for an eye. If you do an eye for an eye, then you're not righteous, because what you're doing is you're acting exactly like the other person acts. Therefore, you're just allowing their low vibration spirit to take over you. So that's when you need to be vigilant. So do not recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So parents are the ones that are responsible to raise and teach integrity and morals to kids. If anyone around you tells you that because someone is telling you something that you dislike, that you have the right to treat them the same way, then you're not being not any other than the common people that is asleep. You're not awake, and you're not living in the true path of Christianity. You're just half away asleep because you want to live that life, but then you've been indoctrinated of living that life incorrectly. The true love of Abba means that when something happens, you have to understand it's a projection. And if you take it personal, it's because you're lacking integrity, morality, you're lacking wisdom, you're lacking understanding of what the true unconditional love is. And Abba teaches it through Jesus. So we all have been there. Like, I definitely have been there a lot of times in my life. But now that I see this differently, then I understand how to protect my energy. I understand how to not engage with these entities because it's not the person. And there is a place in the Bible where Abba, every time that he casts a demon out of a person, he doesn't take it against the human, because he knows that the human went through an experience with when they started to be, I guess, sad or feeling like nothing was going right, and then that is one of the spirits that took over because of that experience over that person. So when that spirit is populating the actions of that person, is telling that person, act from ego, boast, act from ego, respond, act from ego, defend, act from ego. So I was there, and I had to learn that when people project onto you things is because there is a higher vibration that wants you to remain stagnant in that place where you think that what you're doing is righteous and defending yourself, yet you're only releasing your true spirit nature and your true loving heart into becoming the same that everybody is asleep and walking through life asleep. So, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. So if you believe that doing evil for evil is being righteous, then you're not being righteous. And then Abba is going to teach you how to be in spirit. And the moment you're in spirit and somebody comes and tries to get you out of your alignment, and you actually still act from the spirit with an open heart, then Abba will know that people are coming at you because of their demons. And he, when he says vengeance is mine, he means I will take care of those demons, not the person. And that's where everybody falls down. Oh, I want to see somebody paying karma, blah, 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 blah. You're just bringing karma to your life, because karma is just Abba showing people what's wrong in them so they can live not from the mind but from the heart. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. When you still act from a loving heart when somebody's being mean to you, since they've never received that kind of love, then it's gonna feel like a coal, because in their in their heads, when they actually face the truth, they're going to understand how loving that person truly was and how much love that person had for them. So at that moment, Abba is teaching you how to actually be grateful for the experiences you go through and how to understand another person and not see them with pity, but with compassion, which is actually very beautiful. And then it says, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. So if somebody tells you, oh, but enough is enough, and this person is doing this much to you, and you should actually do something, just by you removing yourself out of the equation and standing in your sovereignty and being true to your heart and continue to be kind regardless of how evil others are when they're possessed by entities, and you recognizing that that is a human experience they have to go through, you will stop thinking that they're doing it against you. It's just a battle that they are battling between their pure unconditional love, and the indoctrination that they'll lived through, or the habits that they have based on the fact that they lacked love when being raised, or things like that. So the beautiful thing about the unconditional love of Abba is that we have a forgiving heart that doesn't count the old, not because we're dumb or weak. It's because we know. And if you know, you know. And when you know, you cannot unsee what you have seen. Therefore, you know who does things with ill intention, and you know who does things from the heart. You know who always had a space in their heart for you, even though they were battling their own battles. And you also know who purposely came to actually distort you or confuse you, to actually stop you from allowing that to unfold. So when you start seeing from the eagle's eyes, or eagle eyes, as Abba has showed me, you will never hold resentment for anyone, because you know that they're just sick. And when I mean sick, I mean when you expose your body to other people. Let's say they have cats, or they have dogs, or they have multiple relations. All those liquids and all those parasites jump from one body to the other. And cats are beautiful. I love cats and I love dogs. But there is a parasite in cats that can jump into a human body. So we got to be careful with that. And there are parasites in other people that can also jump into your body. That's why Abba says that your body is a temple. And he says it at the beginning of it. Where was it? And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by renewing your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. For I say, through the grace given unto me, that every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body. So when your liver, your gut, your mind, your heart, your blood, and all of that is not cleansed, you're carrying parasites. that you can pass along to another person. And then I will say how can I explain it? The frequency, the vibration of your body, if it is polluted with the people around you being acting out of character or acting out of integrity or acting out of morality, and you still linger around them and continue to hang out with them, then you're gonna be polluted as well. Not because you're better than anyone, just because it's how the body works. Just because that's how energies work. So Abba's asking us to keep ourselves clean, to nourish ourselves with the water that comes from his words, to stop paying evil with evil, and to start looking at the world through his eyes and never look back. Why he says never look back? Because it's very simple to go back to old habits and patterns, but it's very difficult to make a free will choice decision of every time that you make a decision in life, making it within integrity and morality. And we're not perfect, but when you make that commitment with Abba and you're in that marriage with Abba, Abba will show you the way, because he's amazing. I've learned so much from him and about myself and others. That's why I see through the veil for a long time. And that's why I had compassion. And that's why when I noticed that I was reacting, I had to go into hermit mode, because I understood something was not okay, because I was not being myself. And then I realized that PTSD has taken over. But when I understood what PTSD was, I recovered myself. So something that I want to bring up, because today is Valentine's Day. A lot of people say, oh, I got married and they cook so good and I started eating and then I gained weight and blah, 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 blah. We always point the finger at circumstances. But you have to remember something in accountability, morality, and integrity. Everything happened because you made a choice. And that choice revealed if you were sovereign or just waver in faith. So when we learn and when he speaks, we listen. And instead of actually being charismatic, we become authentic. Again, the charisma versus true authenticity in the Bible states through Google, in a biblical context, the contrast between charisma and true authenticity is often framed as a conflict between outward talent, personality, and inward character and integrity. So your persona is your talent and your personality. That's what you do for a living. But your true character in Christ, your true walk in Christ, is how you can be in integrity without allowing anyone else to move you from that space. It's very difficult, but in the moment that you understand projections, you understand the evil spirits, and you understand energy, then no one can move you from where you are, unless you make the free will choice to decide to react. While modern uses defines charisma as personal charm or magnetism, the biblical Greek origin of charisma refers to a gracious gift. You are using the gifts God gave you to be speaking the word of God, like I'm doing right now, outside of indoctrination, to paint, to sing, to create music, to teach, to become a parent, to be of service, to work. And then those gifts are the gifts of the Holy Spirit, because you are very good at what you do, right? But true authenticity is not who you become from the things that you do. True authenticity is living a genuine life which reflects faith, integrity, and true alignment with Abba, without hypocrisy. That's why he called everyone in the Bible Pharisees, because while they were teaching and speaking about God, they were living in sin. That's why I started losing weight when I gained the weight that I gained, because of the nervous reaction that I had. Because when you live a true righteous life, you understand how important your vessel is. And you don't lose weight to look pretty. You lose weight for your vessel to be full of energy and power and love for you. The only way you can love yourself is not showing up being the greatest or the beautiful one. Is taking care of your vessel, taking care of your mind, taking care of your rest, taking care of your spirit, taking care of your house, because it's your temple. Not because you want to look pretty, not because you want to be the beautiful girl that everybody has to look at her, just because you want to feel aligned. And something funny in life is I started letting my grace grow because I was tired of coloring my hair. And it's fun because I thought that my grays were going to grow longer and I was going to have like kind of highlighted hair with black, white highlights or whatever. And then I noticed that only half of my hair is white. The other half is black. Not in regards of half of the total hair, but half of the strand of the hair. And I started laughing and I'm like, for me, it looks disorganized. It doesn't make sense to me. So I didn't feel myself having half of my hair in one color and the other half in another. So then you go back to originality, like your true self. You can use whatever color you like in your hair. That's fine. But that's not going to change how people sees you. You can actually wear makeup and that's not going to change and make you prettier. The truth of the matter is what makes you pretty is having a very, very sound mind, a true heart, having compassion and not pity for another, and remembering who you are. That way, when you are in that space where you can actually be in sovereignty of the word, you're not going to mistake charisma with true spirituality and maturity. You're going to see actions as the true encompassing fact of what that person is bringing to the equation. I am very good, well-versed. I speak very nice to people. Sometimes I'm very passionate and it sounds like I am an ogre. But my heart will never change. My heart is not a hypocritical heart. And that is something beautiful that I keep to myself at most times. And I only share with people that I think would understand it. Unfortunately, in this world, we are so used to be pampered, enabled, and indoctrined that we forget when true people with true essence, with authenticity, come to our experience, because we're used to hypocrites and masks. We're not used to a person that allows themselves to be themselves 24/7 without caring how it looks. And I'm not saying being immature in our emotions. I'm just saying just be yourself. If you're bubbly, be bubbly. If you're spontaneous, be spontaneous. If you're funny, be funny. But not because you want to be liked, just because it's you. So true authenticity is being real. Your outer actions have to align to your inner spiritual state. If you speak about X, Y, and Z and you're acting totally opposite by either partying too much, going from bed to bed, drinking, like me, smoking, right? Because that's the thing that I have to quit. Then you're not in alignment. And that's what we're here. We're here to learn that even though we have those habits, we are enough and we can overpass them, and we can focus on our character being a character that is true and not a character that is valued by its talent. We can demonstrate the fruit of the Spirit through joy, love, peace, patience. 1 Corinthians 13 is not a game, is a way of living. And so little of us understands it that it's very funny, because a lot of people, and I was there, want to condition the way they're loved because they're scared of not being fully loved or being abandoned. And what they're doing is pushing people away. Been there, done that, and I understand it now. And it doesn't matter how long it took me to get here. If you learn the words of the Father through Jesus and unconditional love through Him, you're going to start seeing true actions and not believing in false words. And when that happens, you're going to choose correctly, because what's for you, it's not meant to pass you by. What He has in store for you is bigger than what you even imagine. It's coming. And when you're in that sovereignty space, no one can take away from you what is rightfully yours, which is unconditional love, and remember who you are. So be balanced in the truth, have grace, be authentic, and just don't talk the talk, walk the talk, which is totally different, because the difference within it is you are committing into full matrimony with Abba by abiding to His mercy, but not disrespecting His commandments. I know this one is a hard one, and a lot of people will not hear it, but whoever has ears, let them hear. Whoever has eyes, let them see. May Abba bless you all in this day and every day of your lives. May all of the dreams of your heart come into place in the moment that you understand what true integrity, morality is. Love you all. Bye-bye.